From Oscar Steakhouse, inside the Plaza Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, you're on the corner of Main Street. Welcome to the only podcast produced by and recorded in the Las Vegas Hotel Casino. From gaming to dining to entertainment to sports to Vegas history, this is the place to be for the inside scoop, because this is the place to be downtown. Now, here's Plaza CEO Jonathan Jossel.
Guys, welcome back to On the Corner of Main Street, our podcast that we've been doing here very proudly for many, many years. And a lot of people are going to say, well, gee, Jonathan, have you run out of guests? And there's the phone and Oscars. Very au naturel.
Right.
Never know
as soon as we start
here. A lot of people are going to say, gee, Jonathan, have you run out of guests that you always need to bring back?
Who's going to say that?
Your most common and most commonly visited guest, Scott. And we'll introduce him shortly. But just so that the listener knows, we haven't run a guest. Scott is an amazingly interesting person. Some people are saying he's still the most influential influencer in town. I don't know if that's true or not.
Very true.
I wouldn't give you that title, but a lot of people are saying that.
Thank you.
And also, we did have a different guest today, and he was from Resorts World, and we've never talked about Resorts World. You were excited about that.
Yeah, ready to go.
And we have a great conversation. I hope he will come back to do it. The problem was with the turnover there recently and the change in leadership. He wasn't 100% sure about talking about everything, which totally makes sense.
Alex Dixon, I assume.
No, it wasn't Alex. I did a panel with Alex the day after he got changed title. And he showed up to the panel as senior advisor instead of CEO. So anyways, as a last minute fill-in, Scott kindly offered to do it. Scott, welcome back to On the Corner. I said, Gary, do your introduction anyway.
Oh, this man needs no introduction. Let's just go. Welcome, Scott Roeben, a.k.a. Vital Vegas. Let's just talk about the happenings of Las Vegas.
I love your introductions, though. They're always so good.
It is always good. And he does
you
such
always,
a great job.
It's like you hype up your guests before they... It's like that TV show where they walk down the hall and everybody's like clapping and singing.
Wait.
You've been on here 9 times. How many times?
Is it 9? Is it 9? No.
I think it's 7, but...
All I know, I was on episode 69. That was the important one.
You just proclaim Gary like the Bruce Buffer of the podcast? Like he hypes up the crowd as the introduction?
Is that a sports reference?
That's a UFC reference, yeah. I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take all the compliments.
No, you do great research. And hopefully we'll talk about AI today.
AI. Well,
because those two things are related, at least in my world as a writer. Because
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Why?
Well, we could get into some of the AI, but AI is everywhere. I mean, when I'm doing research for guests, I'll use AI so we can search the whole web for different information. I mean, it's...
And I would love to broach the subject today because just today I saw a video of a robot AI who's selling Las Vegas show tickets. And so it's kind of an ongoing conversation, but I don't think Vegas casinos especially tend to be a few years behind technology, all due respect. So AI is out there. It's already changing the world. It changes what I do. It has made me moot. I still have scoop, but if somebody took my scoop and asked AI to write a story about it, and you can literally tell it to change the tone, make it snarkier, include all this research.
You can give it emotion that people said is the thing that it will never have, that humans have, which is a human emotion. You're saying you can now give it AI emotion?
Yes, you can. It can take on a tone. I tell it, go visit Vital Vegas, get that tone. It's snarkier. It's a little funnier than you might see, and it will write in that tone. It will. I use it a lot for brainstorming for my stories now. So if I did a story recently about the psychological benefits of gambling, right? It's kind of an interesting subject to me because I benefit from gambling. I think it helps my mental wellness. But I didn't really know how to articulate it. I'm not an expert on the subject. Well, AI is an expert on every subject. So right. I'm like, go out and find the psychological principles that people say and research has shown can calm you, can help you focus, can help an older person keep their mental acuity. I'm not pointing at me, I'm talking about actual old people. So it came back with all this research and links. It was fantastic. So I wrote the story, but AI did put together the pieces, and I kept saying, well, what about, I would ask it questions, and I would say, could we go down this other path? And can you give me the links and the references, because I want to make sure it's factually based, because AI gets a lot wrong.
Yeah. Well, so you're saying it's helped you in your profession, and people and every panel that I speak on always say, well, how's AI influencing our industry? And I haven't yet really seen it in a meaningful way. We did experiment with it in our call center.
Yeah, we used it for our call center to help, to do guest feedback, but I think we were too early on in the process. I would say 5 years from now, you'd be able to have full-blown conversations with AI, over the phone, to do your reservations, to go through that. I think it's still early in its
It did not deliver on that yet. And
Right.
so we got rid of it because I prefer a human talking to another human. And I'm old-fashioned in many ways, so to me, interacting with a human was just a better experience for our customers, I think. But there is no doubt that down the road, call centers will be obsolete. Why would you need a call center if they get it to the level where
Right.
it sounds like it's headed, and it sounds like you're seeing it already, connecting to humans and understanding a bit more, but it's just going to keep evolving and learning. And
Well, and I will tell you, I would say probably 20% of the emails that come in to the Plaza, like guest reviews or guest feedback, are generated from AI. Where I can already see the bullet points and everything else coming in. So people are using it and saying, hey, I want to write a quick review on the Plaza and give some feedback. They give it some topic points, and then it fills in the rest.
that's crazy. And
I didn't know that.
I don't know if this is true or not, but somebody told me yesterday that the 5th most visited website in the world is ChatGPT.
Okay.
Which
It's a huge number. People are using it instead of Google, but in the Las Vegas casino world, I think entire departments are really like marketing.
Absolutely.
There's at every level. People will use it as a tool in the beginning if they're smart, if they want to keep their jobs. But my background is digital marketing and social marketing. So every step, every part of that job can already be pretty much be done. And as there are advancements in the graphic component, they're getting really good at using text and graphics now. Like all those folks that casinos hire, whether it's internally or agencies, all those people are moot. They really are, because I can do at home, I could have 10 clients, and in the time that it used to take me, it would take me a week to come up with taglines, to come up with email subject lines, to write the emails, to come up with the graphics. So, I was managing all that stuff at Fremont Street Experience. We had an agency. All that stuff is just, make us a campaign. And on the business side, the analysis that it's doing, I do it with restaurants now for my site. So I'll get an announcement from a casino. We have a new restaurant. We don't have any renderings. We don't have a menu. We have a name. We have a description of what it's going to look like. I take that description and I put it in AI and I go, create a rendering for the interior of this restaurant. Do 20 of them. 5 minutes later, I've got 20 renderings. I've got a menu. I did this for a place at Planet Hollywood, Caramella. They didn't give us any information, so I just had AI do it. It came up with a beautifully designed menu, a logo. Then AI started suggesting, would you like me to do a news release for the announcement of this restaurant? Fine. So I'm just going through this exercise, as potentially a restaurant owner would. Why would I hire somebody to do a logo now? Why would I hire somebody to do our graphic design on our menu? If I can say, here's 50 versions of this, pick that one. And it's in 10 minutes. And the iterations and all those years I've spent, I used to do graphic stuff with billboards, right? That was kind of my calling card for a lot of years. I would spend hours and days and weeks in Photoshop, just painstakingly.
Is this when you were at Fremont Street?
This was before Vegas. I had a site called dribbleglass.com. And there was a book of phony billboards. That was kind of like the first viral, I call it the first meme. So technically I invented memes. But I would spend all that time, and because nobody was doing it, but now it can be done instantly.
You should have invented memes, because you could have played way higher denomination video poker if you'd done that.
More money, more problems.
That's fair. Did you listen to the Fremont Street podcast we did with Andrew Simon?
Yes.
You liked it?
He's very diplomatic.
He's very eloquent. He's very good.
No, I like him. I think it's great how everybody thinks they have great culture. Like everybody thinks they have a great corporate culture.
Oh, corporate culture, yeah.
But if you talk to the people in the company, They're like, he's living in another planet. I like Andrew. He's been very helpful. Well, I think we're on the same page in terms of what needs to happen on the street. I didn't love that he went silent for 9 months when he started because he was on a TV show. Like, that was a weird decision.
You would have been very uncomfortable yesterday. We had a group call with me, a bunch of Andrew, a bunch of people on Fremont Street Ownership Board, and we all agreed. We all stood by each other in objection of a different event. How cool is that? Look at that. Everyone working together down here. So weird.
Has anyone ever said the word horse shit on your show before? I don't remember
It was unanimous. Everybody was on the exact same page in that conference.
No. Everybody plays nice. You have to play nice because the public-facing story, Alex Dixon, he just changed his title. No, he was quiet fired, which means it's better publicly if you say, oh, he's taking on a different role he's taking on a different role until he can find a better job.
Yeah.
But he's fired.
112 days does seem really short to give someone a CEO. Yeah. I mean, I've been in Las Vegas 18 years next month.
Wow.
18. Thank you. And CEO would have been 10 or 11 years at this point. I don't know how you can be effective in 112 days. I think the most effective thing he did was calling Paulie C and making peace. That was his big accomplishment. I mean, it's really not right to give someone 112 days. I don't know the ins and outs of it, obviously, and it's not my business, but it seems
it wasn't
really
a good
difficult.
fit. There's a sense of urgency there. You can see externally when there's headbutting going on. You can see it. You can see it at Fontainebleau. So, especially in the early days, you could see when these people some were resigning, some were being fired. These are the highest level executives. It comes from headbutting and a difference in vision. So you got Jim Murin coming in as some kind of weird board of directors overlord, coming in potentially to try and sell the place, but mostly to kind of clean up the mess with the money laundering allegations. And you've got a guy who has he's out of his depth, but you bring him in because he's like, oh, he'll be a good face to the community. We'll throw him in these situations like with the Mr. Beast disaster. We'll throw him in there. He's a good kind of like face of the property. But when you get in there and you realize they're not giving him the resources, they're not giving him the authority to make decisions, and you're butting heads, and there's more stuff that's coming. It's a hard situation, but it's not really fair to him. But it wasn't really fair to put him in that position, and that's what happened at Fontainebleau as well. You put these executives with kind of aspirations of having these lofty titles and positions, but they weren't really experienced enough to do it. So now you've got the megalomaniac, Mr. Sofer in there, kind of like trying to control the situation. You've got this guy in New York who is meddling. So the headbutting, somebody's going to lose.
So
it's not...
I'm hoping when we have our Resorts World guest on, we'll be able to clarify a lot of these things and speak Mr. Beast and understand what actually happened there, because I can't imagine anyone made the decisions that it sounds like they made, so we'll have to understand that. But speaking of headbutting, I need to headbutt you. Why are you telling people Sandal is closing?
Oh, no, I never said that.
That seems very...
No.
And by the way...
Well, we were talking about this yesterday. You guys started to get at it, and I was like, save this for the podcast. 'Cause I don't know what's going on here, but...
Yeah.
You guys
why are you telling people Sandal?
I was just at Sandal last night. I met some awesome people there. I have a story. No, I don't know anything about Sandal. Do you?
We're opening the windows. Did you see the construction when you were there last night?
Yeah.
So my big thing has always been
casino facing.
Well, just
windows.
open. Just open. And a connection between the casino and the bar.
Oh, I got
So
you.
when you walk by, you see this, what I think is a really beautiful, sexy bar, arguably one of the nicest ones in all of downtown, but you couldn't see it. And there's no question that the live music component of Sand Dollar has struggled, but the bar itself, the video poker itself, the pool tables, fantastic.
Love it.
People love that.
It's not
Live
you're not
music
saying
hasn't-
it's going to be open, right?
No, window.
It'll be shut in, acoustically closed off, right?
So there's
The sound is not going to bleed. You can see in, but it's not open.
It's open, but there's an acoustic curtain. So if you're saying the casino music will bleed into there, or the Sand Dollar?
That music from Sand Dollar.
No, well, the music from Sand Dollar is what's changing.
It's,
That's what's
the
changing.
music's changing.
Yeah.
Well, that's scoop.
Well, not really, but it doesn't mean it's closing or going away.
No,
I mean, the
well,
music. the music you experiment with and you see what works, what doesn't work. Tell me a good lounge in this entire city that you walk by and you can't see it. Go to the Venetian. They do a great job of light lounges.
It's not. I mean, the sight lines are probably part of it, but if you have a regular group of people who likes a certain kind of entertainment, they'll find it. But I don't know how you get them off of Fremont to come over. But it's a great space. But I'm just trying to clarify, it's not open, so the sound of that nightmarish, like they have terrible taste in ambient music. They play these obscure, like I can't endure sitting at those machines and listening to whatever that is. And I also can't stand the half-hour warming up.
This is meant to sound good for our podcast.
No, it's fantastic.
He dodged the question on why he thought that $10 was going to close.
No, I didn't say it was going to close. Where are you getting that?
You did. You tweeted that you better go soon.
Yeah, you should go while the music's still the same if you like it. That's what I meant.
He's backtracking.
No,
I didn't know you backtrack like that.
It was closing, but I heard a rumbling that something would be changing in the realm of the sand dollar.
There's windows.
A lot of times I tweet things to get answers. When I don't have all the information, I'll share a rumor because I know somebody's going to know. So in the case of, say, there's a menu item at the Bellagio for in-room dining, right? So I don't know if there's an auto gratuity, so I will do a story about the $25 that if you want a plate and a fork, it's an extra $25.
Where's
for
this?
room service? Bellagio. It's all. I think it's all of MGM resorts. So it's $25.
If you want a plate and a fork, an extra plate and fork with your food, what are you talking about?
If you want your food on a plate, it's $25.
As opposed to what?
As opposed to takeout. And that's $10 for an eco-friendly container. But
in addition to the cost of the food.
Right. I don't know if there's an auto gratuity. I assume there are taxes. So I'll just float it. It's not really a rumor, but it's an example of I'll do it so people can help me flesh it out. So in the case of the sand dollar, you might not be able to say anything. I may not have a source who knows. I'll go ask Chelsea. I'll go ask one of your servers. I'll ask.
I think you know me pretty well.
sources.
I would tell you. It's not closing. We're opening the windows.
I never said it was closing. I just
The
heard
bar's great. The pizza's great. The deep dish is great.
The pizza is fantastic.
The music could do with some tweaking. The video poker, by the way, is the best video poker in all of downtown. You won't find 96.
Not last night, but so the pizza, but they won't serve the pizza at pop-up. It's absolutely amazing.
I don't know where you got that from. I just went there 2 days ago and ordered it.
No.
They serve it to me is what I'm trying to tell you.
It might be a little different when the owner of the casino
Do you think,
walks
Gary,
in.
is that real? They say, no, you can't order that pizza here?
You can't order it at the counter.
Are you sure?
I'm 100% sure because every time I go in there, I'm like, I would love to just go grab one of those baby and they're not cheap, so they're leaving money on the table.
Right at home. Let's fix that.
It's $20.
That's going to, as of next week, become an effective change. You'll be able to pop up and order that pizza. That does seem counterintuitive to me.
So back to Sand Dollar, I met a lovely couple. They were big fans of mine, so I liked them immediately. They're like, "Aren't you Vital Vegas?" I said, "Yes." So we started talking about. She said, "I did something amazing. I won $500 on Silver Strike," and I said, "I didn't even know you could win on Silver Strike. I thought it was all about the tokens." And she goes, "Yeah, I collected all the tokens." I'm like, "What do you mean you collected them all?" Did I know this, that all the tokens have one bingo number on them?
We just added those, yeah.
So you can collect each of the BINGO with their numbers.
Yeah.
And the new Jonny Rocket token. But how did I not know that the O was 069?
I sent you a picture of it.
I probably tweeted it. But that is the most collectible thing in Las Vegas right now.
More than the Jonny Rockets.
Sorry.
Well, speaking of which, we're going to do a giveaway. So if you go to our YouTube page on the corner of Main Street and comment Jonny Rockets, we're going to select 5 random winners to win the Jonny Rockets Silver Strike. We'll
Okay,
get them out to you.
nice.
So on the corner of Main Street on the YouTube page, comment Jonny Rockets.
But that doesn't feel good enough. Let's add in, because this is what people really want.
Okay.
I did an Instagram and tweet that they have the Oscar Goodman 2028 hat with the martini glass.
Yep.
I'll give you one of those as well. So you'll get the Jonny Rocket
Wow. So you get
chip
the whole
and
price
the Oscar
back.
Goodman 2028
Nice.
with the martini signed by Oscar hat.
Oh, can he run?
Maybe
He should. We're not talking about president. We're talking about mayor.
he can't run for mayor.
Ah, crap.
No,
I have to do it then.
you should run. For,
I almost
you could easily run
did.
for mayor.
I missed the deadline, and only here can you not do a write-in campaign, because I could have beat her. So I have 200,000 followers.
You could have
right?
beat Shelley, but
Easily, and I wouldn't have had to campaign. It would have just been all tweets, because I tweet. The people love me because I tweet what they're thinking about. So all those things that are promises and blah blah blah, I would actually do it. So I'll probably be the next mayor, whatever.
that's great. We'll get you a silver strike.
Wait, so this woman's in the bar and she goes, I have all my tokens, and so she had them all, right? So I go, well, I've got to get an 069. So I go and I start playing. I'm $80 in. Bing, the first one's a Jonny Rockets. I'm like, well, I can't redeem that. I'll never hear the end of it. So I walk up to, so I get another one. It's like the I or whatever, boring one. So I walk up to I hope I don't get anybody in trouble, but I go, I'm really looking for the 069. I'm already $80 in. I'm not going to spend $500 to get the 069. She goes, oh, I'll just give you one. Because she had the stack
of the redeemed.
yeah, she's got all the tokens back there.
Yeah, she shouldn't have done that. She's going to get fired.
And then she said, don't tell anyone I did.
Oh, there we go. You told the podcast.
Wow.
That's great. Well done, Scott. Well done.
At least
I
we
never
didn't mention
burned a sword.
any names here.
Yeah, it could have been a man or a woman.
You know we have lots of cameras.
Oh shit.
We'll see.
Well, what difference does it make? It's just
I'm messing with
Oh,
you.
oh, God.
No, they're fine.
Speaking of music, we were talking about Sandollar. You were at the AMAs
Yes.
this week as of this recording. How was your
Yeah.
experience over there?
AMAs were very interesting. Never been to a live TV show, so like the breaks in between, the seat fillers was fascinating to me. Like we were sitting on the floor we were sitting like one row behind Shabuzi. So when he goes and gets a drink, a seat filler comes in and fills the seat, so it always looks busy on TV. And then when he comes back, the seat filler has to move. It's like you don't really know what they're doing. It's very orchestrated.
When you go to an event, are you always watching the business of the business?
I'm
can you
curious
pull
of the
yourself out?
operations. Like I said to the guy I was with, they had glass bottles on the floor,
Right.
and they're sponsored by Mountain Spring Water.
Okay.
And they put one of these by every chair. Well, on a concrete floor, glass bottles, not a great idea. They kept saying, there's broken glass everywhere.
Oh.
Like, there's always something that's going on. But yes, operationally, I'm always trying to learn, see what other people are doing, and understanding the seat fillers and the marketing and the TV element. You were saying before we started that not all of the artists were there. So I'm sitting there with my wife, and the Blake Shelton song begins, and like there's all the pyro on stage, and the stage is there, but he's not there. So I'm saying, what is this? I don't get it. And they're like, watch when you see TV, it'll look like he was on that stage. So I don't know if it's AI or how they're superimposing him. But he sang a song.
There were multiple people. Were
Only
paid
two.
For.
Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton
Okay.
were the only two performers that weren't actually there. A lot of the acceptance speeches were not there. Eminem won, he wasn't there. Gracie Abrams wasn't there. Billie Eilish. They tour, and honestly, I don't know how big the AMAs are these days. I don't know how much attention people
It's
pay
not
for
big.
it.
That was really the story. Is you would expect it to be huge because it used to be.
Yeah.
But by all accounts, it was a dud. So you were there.
A dud? Or a dud in what way?
A dud like none of the best album of the year artists showed. Like normally the people who, it's not just the winners, all the nominees show on the big award shows. So it was just like, if the artists don't take the award seriously, then
Well,
how are you
I
supposed
think you're
to
being
take it
overly
seriously?
critical. I think that's a little clickbaitish for me because Janet Jackson was there, Rod Stewart was there, Benson Boone was there. I mean, these are pretty big names in entertainment. They're not nobodies. They performed. Jennifer Lopez did a great job. I wouldn't say it was
But
a
I guess
dud.
they've all been around for 25, 30 years.
No,
Maybe-
Benson Boone, the new Alex Warren, his new song is really popular. There was a country singer whose name now escapes me, but it didn't feel like a dud. I mean, you're right. There was a lot of the big names that weren't there, and I don't know that they go to TV show awards ceremonies anymore. Interestingly, where everything seems to collide in this world is Penske Media owns the American Music Awards. They also own Life is Beautiful, they're also potentially buying the Downtown Grand. And so here you have this full circle experience of them just being involved in all these different things in Las Vegas. It's which is pretty amazing how connected they are to all the different aspects.
Should we bring up, I know it's awkward, but should we bring up that I broke the story about Penske and Rolling Stone buying Downtown Grand? I feel like somebody should bring it up. And,
Two questions. Two questions. You did break that story, so kudos to you.
Thank you.
Must have a good source, which we already knew. But more importantly, if it doesn't happen, is it still screwed? Not that. Just anything that you tweet. Let's talk about my Hawaiian restaurant that's fallen out. You tweeted it. It was accurate at the time, not accurate anymore. Is it still scoop if it never actually happens?
Absolutely scoop. And so there's a big debate about this in my world, because the reason that the Review Journal does not give attribution to my stories when I break them is because their editorial policy is this is not news until it is officially confirmed. So I completely disagree with that, because I think there's news all along the way. And the perfect example is Downtown Grand, because so the RJ had a story recently where they talked about it like they already knew it. Like they already knew about Penske. They already knew about John Unwin. They already knew about whatever it was, Hogs and Heifers. Like they knew all this stuff, but they didn't know this stuff. It was reported in social media. And at the time, it was, this is happening. I'm hearing sources, rumor is, chatter is. So and the true or false part is really, it's hard to say, because not every rumor pans out. It's not every deal, when you hear about a deal, is going to go through. The John Unwin thing sounded like a sale. It didn't pan out. It doesn't mean it wasn't happening. So
but if you throw out enough things, you may eventually be right. You also had Steve Seagal was buying it. You also had other people.
he was in line for it, right? But I'm very careful with my wording. That's why when I was sued by Sahara, it was so stupid, because I said they could close based on my information.
So they were closing.
No, I said they could close.
Could close. Okay.
So of course they could close. It was a terrible economic stretch for them. My liquidator guy said, I've never done an estimate where the place didn't close. I'm giving an estimate for liquidation of all the physical assets.
Okay.
So that's a natural conclusion. It could close. They're getting an estimate for that. Could be done. I didn't say it's closing. I didn't give a date. That's absurd. So, but when they sued me, that was their lawyer's position, is you said it was closing, and that's not true. And I'm like, that's not what I said, and it's not my response. And that's why I won in court, and they paid my legal fees. Hasn't happened since, because I got a really good.
Speaking of closing, Hogs and Heifers is closing, right?
By the way,
Have they-
5 people have reached out to me to connect me with them about moving them here.
Really?
In fact,
Terrible
someone in
idea.
Wisconsin told me to move it into Sand Dollar. Maybe that's where your scoop was from.
Oh,
But
no,
that's
that would
not-
be a
that's not
terrible idea. There's probably a place for Hogs and Heifers, but it's not near any place with a hotel in it. Because
We don't have a
it's
space.
loud,
You
it's
don't see it
vulgar.
staying in downtown.
No, it could. I told him to go to I interacted with the owner, and I said, go to the Arts District, find a spot where you're not dealing with the conflict with the hotel. Because for Downtown Grand, their rooms that's how they're making their money. So when you have angry hotel guests because these women are shouting vulgar things in bullhorns until late, it was always a problem. They've been looking for a way to get rid of them. There was a lawsuit. They kind of resolved it because Hogs and Heifers is on their signage now on the side of the hotel tower. I never thought they would help publicize Hogs and Heifers, but you could see that the signs were faded. So it was pretty clear, like nobody's reinvesting.
Well, their
in
lease
that.
was expiring, right?
I think it already expired. It just isn't being renewed.
Yeah.
And they still think they might work out a deal, but they're not working out
And
a
you
deal.
tweeted out that Rolling Stone, which is Penske, will buy the Downtown Grand June the 6th. Is your date?
I had the date of June 6th, but I don't know if that's like the announcement or when it actually happens. I have some pretty good sources over there, but they don't know either. So there hasn't been a ton of communication. I think they're going to be struggling right out of the gate. It's still going to be that location, but I think new blood, I don't know how much cachet Rolling Stone has anymore, but it's a far more recognizable name than Downtown Grand or CIM or whatever.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll keep Pizza Rock. I like Triple George. That resort hotel needs a better restaurant, so I think Triple George solves that issue. It's interesting because the way they work the rents over there, it's kind of it's supposed to be based on performance of the restaurant, right? So there's that hot and juicy crawfish. Like,
Yeah.
I heard they do 20 covers a day.
That's crazy. I've never seen people in there.
That's insane.
yeah.
Which means they immediately had to do, I don't know the terminology, abatement or whatever, where they have to be like, well, we're going to adjust your rent based on how much business you have, which is zero-ish. So they're already that's not a good situation. Hogs and Heifers, I think, they took a lot of cash, so it was really unclear how you pay rent based on your performance if it's a largely cash business. So I think they were getting soaked on
Well,
that.
let's not be overly negative, because when you were here last time, it was right around the California fires, and the world was ending apparently, and everything was terrible. Meanwhile, the numbers were reported from the Strip weren't terrible, although they did come out today that they're down again for the third straight month in gaming win. But downtown, we're up. And I don't want to be overly negative or make people think Vegas is dead. That's been trending as well, which is a ridiculous thing. My friends are traveling to like LA or other places, and like, we heard Vegas is dead right now.
Yeah, that's the
Memorial Day
clickbait.
was packed.
Yeah.
Memorial Day
And
was packed.
influencers are guilty of that because they'll go out on the Strip at like 4 a.m. and they'll be like, nobody's here. Vegas is done. I'm like, come on. I mean, it's not good. You can't
What is
say
not
it's
good?
even
What's not
flat.
good?
Visitation, revenue. The Strip was down 3% revenue year over year. It's been consistently flat or down, probably 6 months, 9 months. So there's economic uncertainty is a culprit. Commoditization, the legalization of gambling across the country has been a factor for some time. We just haven't seen it because of the post-pandemic bubble. So it's not disastrous, but it's not good.
Well,
It's hard to be upbeat about it. Downtown being up, I play down here, so obviously downtown's going to be up. Check Ellis Island, they're up
they are
a lot. Well,
Yeah,
not
shout
last
out,
week.
Shout out to Gary Ellis.
Yeah.
Great operator. Look, we can only look within our four walls, so we don't see the same trends. But and by the way, they all reported their numbers from the Strip, and it wasn't dire either, right? And a different event calendar, so it's hard for me to buy into that. But I guess it's
How many months does it have to be flattered down to acknowledge that that's
flattered down to last year,
right?
right? But you would agree that trees don't grow to the sky, and so at some level,
Right.
like, you can't just keep growing indefinitely. Like, is it
Right.
still record levels versus 5 years ago, 6 years ago? Does that make it bad?
Which direction is the arrow pointing? For
At the plaza,
6 to
it's
9
pointing
months.
up.
Oh, that's great.
I don't know.
Well, you
but
got fireworks and Chelsea. What else do you need? And frickin'
I can
ping pong
tell you
donuts.
one of the reasons why we're up, and that's Mavericks.
she just walked in.
She's here. So
What a
Amy,
great
do you want
segue.
to come over for a little bit? Here, why don't you take my spot?
Does everyone know Amy? The lovely misbehaved.
She looks a little
you go.
different in the show as she does now.
Misbehaved.
Gary. Hi.
I can't believe you're upstaging me.
I can't believe you're upstaging Gary.
Left the show.
But the difference between mine and Gary's glasses
Not
is
the
this.
last time.
What's that for?
It's because when you're not wearing makeup,
Can I try them
you-
on?
You can.
You can see your dimples a lot better. This is your camera now?
This is amazing.
Oh, that's... Wait, what the heck?
Yeah, exactly.
Look,
That's
if
what
you're
it
not
is.
wearing makeup and you are used to being wearing makeup. It's more of a visual than an audio, obviously.
Well, Amy, welcome
Hello.
to On the Corner Main Street. You've been a guest,
I
the
have.
solo guest. Now you're with Scott.
I'm an ardent
Amy is the
listener.
proud. The what?
I'm an ardent listener and I've been a guest of this podcast.
Often listener, first time caller,
Second time caller, often listener.
often listener. Proud owner, producer, creator, genius behind Mavericks Misbehaved. Misbehaved
me.
Mavericks.
Well, that is me.
Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being my partner downstairs. in the
Thank you for
showroom.
being my partner. I love it.
Here's your camera.
Oh shit! I
And-
thought it was
and
like
also-
sugar. Look at me nailing this from the jump.
Also, the only person to survive 6 months in a showroom at the Plaza. Respect.
Thank you very
No,
much.
I think that's
some respect.
a record, maybe not of all time, but recently
Yeah, I
certainly.
mean, we've gone from the Shinters to Louis Anderson, The Mob Story,
Mob
Michael
Story,
Franzese,
yeah.
which was our highest production value show. But how's it been going? What do you think of downtown? How's it running the
It's
show in
going
downtown Las
great.
Vegas?
I mean, for me, this showroom is the dream because it's got that classic, same as the Plaza. It's a classic Dame being serviced right. So for me, the star of the show is the room. And I've had my eye on this room for so long, so I'm loving it. And I love what's happening to downtown. I've only ever really been interested in downtown because I think that you have to play a completely different game on Strip, and it's not necessarily a fun one. In some ways, it's what you guys were talking about, corporations. It doesn't matter what you want to do on the Strip. You need to be a massive corporation to achieve it, and by that point, you're doing something different anyway.
Have you been to the show, Scott?
Yes, I went on opening night.
Not really a fair.
I assume the marching band isn't in it.
Yes, sadly, I
There's
can't
like
afford
100 people.
Sadly, I can't afford 40 kids and an Elvis every night. But, special occasion called for it.
Am I allowed to ask her a question?
Yeah.
This is a random interaction.
I'm
There's
doing
no
a
agenda. So
flyby.
whatever you.
Random, but she was just sitting there the whole time.
Earwigging.
So to me, one of the concerns was the beautiful theater, but bigger than Cheap Shot.
Oh,
substantially,
yeah.
right? So how have you? I assume you're not. However many seats, it's like 400, 500, or 350. Like you can't do 350. So how do you?
Well, you can if you get 350 bodies in. Because really, that room could hold 600, really, because there's beautiful wide aisles, and it's because it's an old school Vegas room. So if you got to a point where you could play with 600 punters, what you would do is you'd put in that old school.
By the way, sorry.
Hunters.
Hunters for America.
Customer.
Hunter's a customer in England.
Yes, indeed.
Or a gambler.
Hunters.
Real punter.
Yeah, it can be many things.
You never heard punter?
No.
I've heard it as a gambler, but I didn't know everybody in your audience gambled.
It's just a body.
Everybody.
Sorry.
What were we talking about?
It's the size of the room and that.
You'd put the trestle tables in, just like they used to. And if you look at the old photos, you would see that. So what you'd have down the front is the mint tables and mint chairs. And then the second row, you've got trestle tables before those booths. So you can end up really comfortably and in an old school bunched in way, which, again, showrooms have their roots in circus. And I don't mean circus as in daddle, or definitely not Cirque du Soleil. I mean the fact that if you can see the other side of your audience, if they can see each other, they end up having a better time. Do you see what I mean? Like, there's loads of psychological tricks that are in the nature of, it goes back hundreds of years, and also is in the DNA of shows in Vegas when they were the showrooms and when they were the lounges.
So that's like in the round, like Mad Apple. The audience is looking across at itself.
It helps. Mad Apple have a lot of lights, so in some sense they're not utilizing that. Absinthe absolutely is utilizing that, and should be. Like, I've played in Spiegel tents for the days, and part of your charm is the fact that you are feeding off your other compadres that are enjoying the show. Like, imagine you're watching a sword swallower, and across the way is someone who's finding that a lot, and you're finding it funny, someone else is finding it, whoa, you all sort of feed off each other, and again, because of how your brain works, you sort of understand that stuff. Because the same, I would say, what's very different with Mavericks, because I was listening to you gentlemen the last time, is that we're not a production, Joe. So we don't have
What are you talking about last time?
When you guys were chatting on...
The last time he was on the podcast.
Last time he was on the podcast.
We talked about Mavericks.
You did, and I remember things, and you don't have to. You've both got a lot on your plate.
We're dudes.
Exactly.
You, man. We only know 3 colors. We don't remember stuff.
But the thing is, what we're doing in this showroom goes back centuries. It's energy dynamics. So on the Strip, if they have an act go out, they get someone else in to do that act. That's not their act. That's fine. And it's, again, I understand production and high cost shows. You do that. Here, there are lots of brilliant performers all over the world. If I need a high energy act here, and this particular performer is not available, I'll get another, wait for it, high energy act in there. I don't need to find someone to learn this person's act.
Right, to replicate. This happened with opium.
Such a difference there.
My quote was actually used in their advertising, right? Like, greatest show in the history of ever. And Ross Mollison, who I love, I texted him that during the show. I was crying. And one of the things I was crying about was his bubble bubble act, right?
yeah.
This guy was just
He's magical.
magical.
I thought I could maybe inquire about paying him to put me to sleep each night. My wife said no, but
No,
I
you
was
could go to a Cirque show. But anyway, see what I did? It was it's not boring. I love
See
Cirque.
how I let that fly over my head and didn't jump on anything?
But
Thanks, so.
the next time I went, it was a different bubble guy. Very talented, very adept at what he was doing. He had clearly been trained by the original guy. Different show. I didn't cry. A couple of other acts were missing. And they were kind of like, it was plug and play. And Ross Mollison and his team, they have a great eye for what you're talking about, which is like.
But this is the thing.
the
This is
flow?
exactly it, though. It's like what you need is okay, this bubble guy. And again, it's more work in some ways for a show on the strip, a production show, to do this. So I appreciate and understand why they do it. But, the bubble guy can't do it. What do we want here? We want people to feel. We've got 11 minutes instead of 6 because it's a long act. So what working around the world, what high-end special act working around the world plays with pathos? That's what we'll go and get. Why? Because we don't need someone to do a copy. We need someone to fill that feeling we get from this. And that, I've played with that a lot because I know how many brilliant people there are. So I just go, okay, we need this energy now. We need this energy now. And what we also need is we need things to change. We need it to change because I can't afford to have performers come and live here. And because they don't necessarily want to come and live here. I can get people in that will come in for a month, which you'd never be able to get in Vegas because they don't want to be in Vegas.
Has anything surprised you about being downtown?
I've only ever been there. I mean,
In a casino in downtown.
You did Misbehaved's game show at Bally's.
I did.
That has to be a different. That's when I fell
Well,
in
but-
love with you and your sensibility, because that show it felt very weird for the strip because it was so different and so
Incredibly.
funny and creative. So I'm like, well, I don't know how to market this. I think I was working at Caesars at the time. I'm like, I don't know how to market this. I had a great time.
and the honest truth is, I had a great time. I learned a lot. But having done festivals around the world, what that was it was a show that couldn't, unless I got a bump of investment, we were going to be a little cult fun thing for people to know about or discover forever, because we're in a mid-range hotel which clientele is not after what we're doing, and yet we succeed through TripAdvisor. Sort of pat yourself on the back, well done, but it's kind of diminishing is hard. Whereas for me, this, and it was the first time I ever saw this room, was Amazing Jonathan's Wake, and I was like, this is what I was meaning when I said Vegas. This is exactly it.
Shout out to the amazing Jonathan. Not
Absolutely.
Me.
Not this particular Amazing Jonathan, the other one. But so for me, and I saw what was possible, because what is possible here is, this is not a corporation. This is a genuinely brilliant building with a genuinely brilliant company. From the seat, I mean, that's so rare, it's insane. I've never met anybody like Jonathan anywhere, never mind in Vegas. And so from the top down, we've all got our foibles.
there's
We've all
issues.
got our foibles, Scott. You know, that's
Let me ask you a question, because you know this, and Gary will have to come back in soon.
Yes.
But did you get your phone? You see your phone?
Yeah.
Do you guys see space in Vegas for Cirque and variety shows long term? With the way production has changed, the way tastes have changed, the way headliners have changed, the way stadiums changed, the A's are coming, and
the
Legion
landscape
Stadium.
is going to be completely different in 12 months' time. I think that headliners and sports are the driving force, and I've thought this for like almost pre-pandemic, to be honest, but definitely, and you go sports, headliners, and your and is the sphere. So for us lot who are not large production, don't have millions, nor want to do millions, because if you are a large production show, you need to have a look at yourself, because the landscape has changed. What we can do is we can serve the punter, the customer's experience, and why I feel the magic here is with Plaza is because that's exactly what you've been doing as long as I've been in town. And so for me, the way I pitch this show is affordable, no hidden fees, cheap bar, free parking, beautiful room, and the show's good. And I think that's where people are at for their experience right now. For us, so we're essentially like, I see Vegas is a fairground. The main event has changed from Cirque to sports and headliners, and everything else is sideshowing off that main event. billions on the table. You've just got to readjust how you collect.
And you only have to sell 200 tickets to be very happy. And I'll let you leave on the store unless you want to add.
Well,
something.
I think you would add an extra 50 a night if you added boobs to that list.
I've got
Because
the
your
best,
list
not
is
mine
very good, but
personally.
boobs.
I've got the best not mine, but I've got the best goddamn boobs in Vegas, baby.
Who are you talking?
Banbury Cross?
yeah,
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
legitimately.
Other than my wife, I would.
Oh,
Your
my
your wife
goodness.
does not come onto my stage and show them up.
Oh boy! All right, ladies and
But
gentlemen.
I will leave you with, and the listener with this thought, which is, for a show to be successful in this town, and a lot of these small productions don't ever make it, you have to go 12 months.
Yeah.
Because what I've seen so often is you're onto something, but the average customer only comes to Las Vegas once a year. Now I'm getting the emails. Coming back to town, I loved Mavericks. I'm going to bring 15 people with me. I'm having my birthday. I love Mavericks.
Yeah.
So now I'm getting those emails of people that want to come and see the show for the second time. But you got to give that cycle time, and you're only 6 months into this.
And there are a few different cycles. I mean, what we're getting is people who come for, there's a few people who've come for business, like, and literally they're here once a month or once every 3 weeks because it's an easy thing for them to come to, because it's different every time. And it's affordable. And it's not about watching a show. It's about also spending time in the show. I think.
And the business side is important because if you had needed to subsidize this show for a certain period of time to gain recognition, it's not Awakening, which is they're still subsidizing this product. It could be $100,000 a week. They're subsidizing it, so you've really got to have deep pockets to be out there long enough. I think they're headed in the right direction, but that
Awakening is.
yeah, like those
Going next
big
Monday night.
production shows.
Let Gary in.
Gary, you're back.
I'm going next Monday night to Awakening. Bernie Human has kindly
Thanks, Gary.
offered my kids to go see. I haven't been back to Awakening since open night, so I'm excited to see it.
Enjoy.
Respect, thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
See you later. But speaking of great entertainers, besides for Amy, we had last night Wayne Newton at the Plaza. You know who Wayne
I've
Newton is?
heard of him. I'm familiar with
The
him.
last thing about Wayne.
His big hit.
Hang on. So Jack Benny had a running joke. You can cut this if you need. Where he was
Can't cut it, it's
39.
all legs.
Sorry about this. Where he was 39 forever, and I wanted that because Jack Benny's my favourite comedian. This will mean a lot to the older listeners you've got. Wayne Newton sang me happy birthday and signed a dedication that I am 39 forever from him and Jack Benny. Thank you very much.
Whoa.
Well,
This 39-year-old is like,
I had a wonderful conversation with him last night where I was telling him the history of the Plaza, and I was like, oh, 1 Main Street, the old train station, and he looked at me in a very charming way. He didn't say kid, but he looked at me and was like, I was performing at the Fremont Hotel in 1959.
Yeah.
I know history. I was like, okay, you tell me the history. I won't ask you. He was performing at the Fremont Hotel when this was not here. It was a train station.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
There-
he was like
think about
15 or so. Like he was underage. To be,
Was he?
Yeah.
I mean, I was trying to do the math while he was telling me that. I was like, 1959. Like that's really impressive.
Well, I think his show could actually be a massive hit if he's too classy because he knows stuff that I think people would be fascinated to hear his stories. Like if he ever relaxes a little bit and does an actual autobiography where he tells all the stuff he knows. Like he almost beat up Johnny Carson at one point because Johnny Carson kept making jokes about him being gay. So he went to LA and he threatened Johnny Carson to make him stop making homophobic jokes.
Wow.
Like he's done things. He owned Aladdin or something at one point. Like he's done stuff and he's seen all the interesting stuff, but it's almost like he's of that kind of old school, like, I don't want to speak badly of the dead, or I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like, but I
Well,
think
he had a great line because I asked him, well, who was running the Fremont Hotel when you were there?
yeah.
And he said the name of the general manager, who I didn't know, but so I looked confused. And then he said, he mentioned one of the other crime families from back east. And in my head, I was like, how cool is this? Because and Oscar's told me this. He wants to do a dinner series here. By the way, shout out Oscar Goodman. Next dinner series, June the 18th. Sold out already. Sold out in 48 hours.
Wow.
You have to buy your ticket for the next one.
Sold out.
Yeah.
But
Come sit
But
at the bar.
what Oscar wants to do is do a dinner series where he basically takes a drive up the strip, and we might have a video of it, and he can just go through and tell you which crime family owned or operated each of those casinos And then it speaks to what Wayne was telling me last time when I was like, who owned it? It was like, it wasn't like a company or an individual. It was a family. It was a crime family back then, I guess.
Us just gonna get one of those double-decker buses and drive down the strip with everybody.
We'll do the next dinner series on a bus with tables, dinner, and we'll drive down the strip and let them tell us who owned each place.
I did
could sell
something
that.
similar in L.A. when I was on the Love Connection. My date and I went on a tour called the Graveline Tour, and they drive around and they point at where all the celebrities died. So they would just drive along like Hollywood Boulevard, and you could see. So that's a natural, and he would love it. He would just get to talk the whole time.
Yeah, we'll start heckling people on the strip.
Where are we going next? We've been doing this is a long episode.
Yeah,
I don't know why our
There's a lot
episodes have
more.
been getting over an hour at this point.
Because if it's someone interesting is on,
but you got
there's no time
Our
limit.
audience is very committed to the hour.
what else? What else do you got, Scott? WrestleMania is coming back to Vegas.
Oh, do we need to bring up that I broke the story that WrestleMania was coming the first year? I know it's awkward, but somebody needs to bring it. Yes, I beat the world. I beat everyone in the wrestling. You know, all the fanatics, the wrestling fans.
We can bring up that it was very successful. Had
Correct.
Jake the Snake at the Plaza, but was nowhere near as big a Super Bowl. So you were incorrect entirely.
Well, let's wait for the match. I mean, it's coming back again for the next year. So
Is it coming
I
next
think-
year? Is that a done deal?
That's the rumor.
So it was announced for New Orleans, and then 3 weeks went by, and then somehow I don't know, I think WrestleMania backed out of New Orleans, promised them for another year, and they haven't announced where they're coming back. But all the rumors are saying that it's coming back to Vegas for next year. It'll probably be April 11th or April 6th.
Oh, my birth.
If they're smart, you gotta follow the money.
Is that Easter weekend again? Because that was genius putting it on Easter
It won't
weekend.
be over Easter weekend.
Oh, well.
No. But I think what we found out is, we had viewing parties both nights, and all the guests that we talked to couldn't afford to go to both nights of the show, right? So it's a 2-night event. They couldn't afford to go to both nights of the event. So they decided on which day they wanted to go, and then, found a viewing party for this. So
And you
they've
hosted
already-
Jake the Snake. You interviewed him, right?
I interviewed him for about
You know who
40
Jake the
minutes.
Snake is?
It sounds like a porn star.
A similar wrestler.
Oh,
From the 80s, guy with a snake.
Was it the 80s? No, I watched it. It was
we had an actual snake.
Yeah,
I
it was
don't
in the
like it.
80s.
and 90s.
Why do
Well,
people
for some
use
reason,
animals to? There's like these idiots out here in Fremont with their snakes. I'm like, do you think that snake is happy out there with the noise and the sound? Like,
But by the way, give a plug to your amazing charity work you do with the dogs. I do appreciate that you've become in love with dogs, and I love my dog. But
no, I think it's the Animal Foundation is the shelter where I go to volunteer. I go down a few times a week. I'm going after this podcast episode. I go and I distribute treats. I don't really do any of the hard stuff. They typically will tweet and it'll go to 100 people, which is sad. And then I retweet it, goes to 50,000, 40,000. Humble brag. But so I'm trying to help them, but the problem is just so overwhelming that it really can be disheartening. But I go because in that
so many
moment,
dogs.
I'm giving a treat to that dog, and that's the high point of that dog's day. If I take it for a walk, I get too emotionally attached to spend too much time, so I just kind of hit and run, and I do 120 dogs every time I go, give them treats. But people have responded well. It's not really like casino.org. Didn't know they were signing up for that. That's who I work for and with. I don't think they really understand it, but they don't bother me if I do something that's kind of outside the normal thing.
Yeah.
So I figure I've asked for pepperoni donations, and like hundreds of people will donate just from a tweet. So that really helps them out. So
Good for you for doing such a great cause and being a part of something so important. In fact, it's so important that at the Mayor's State of the Union, she had like 3 major goals for the entire city, and one of them was helping the amount of stray and dogs left over in shelters. And it was a pretty amazing thing for the mayor to spend time talking about that.
It also gets neglected.
Well, I look forward to talking to her about this absolutely moronic policy. So I have a cat that kills quail in my yard. So I trapped it. I thought, this has gone on for months. So I trapped it humanely. I gave it over to animal control. I said, you need to address this issue. They picked it up. They brought the cat back. Last night, I look up on the fence, that stupid cat is back. I love animals, but if you're killing my quail, I don't like it. So it's called like the community cat ordinance, where there's kind of community-owned cats, basically feral cats. So animal control takes it and they bring the cat back.
Wow.
So I need to talk to her and other legislators about how moronic that rule is. Of course, I don't want to
never
see a
talked about
cat
this on
euthanized,
Quarter
but
Hours.
You never know what's going to happen on these
Thank you.
episodes, Scott.
you know what we should talk about?
But
Speaking
she
of
also-
charities. How about the A's? We can do a GoFundMe. They only need $1 billion, so we do a GoFundMe. I'll tweet it. Support bringing the A's to Las Vegas. They just need $1 billion.
You're choosing the wrong hill to die on. And you're going to die on the hill. And you've put a lot of investment behind this thing not happening. So if it happens, how damaged will your reputation be?
There will be no damage because 5 minutes later I go, I don't know anything about sports.
Oh, and I said this, but maybe it was that. Look, I don't know anything about anything.
But you can still have an opinion.
But I'm about to tell you, Mark Bedane.
I'm being sarcastic because a lot of people say, I don't have any sources. I don't know anything about this, but let me tell you why it's 100% a done deal.
Let me tell you why it's going to happen.
Go ahead.
Because Mark Bedane, who is a good friend, someone who I want to be my mentor, but he won't accept me, but someone who I look up to and think the world of and is very accomplished, has joy in the A's as their president. And in my opinion, he would not have done that if he was not 100% sure they were building the stadium. Now, how they're financing or where it's coming from or who's involved, I don't know. But I'm convinced it's happening, and therefore I'm trying to help you get off the hill because it's probably going to happen, and then you're going to look like you were wrong all along.
At some point, you're going to bring him on as a future guest.
And Mark has said he will come on when they break ground.
That's awesome. Well,
And maybe-
none of that has anything to do with evidence that there's financing for the ballpark. He is cashing a check. He is spouting the party line, as he should, as their hired representative. His job is to based on his reputation with what happened at Allegiant with the Raiders, that he somehow lends a credibility to this. It's like the fact that they're moving dirt around on the Tropicana site somehow lends credence to the fact that something's happening. Nothing has happened financially that has changed anything. The only thing that's happened is this food vendor, they're going to donate $100 million or $150 million, whatever it is, so that they can be the food vendor at this imaginary ballpark. That's the only financial contribution that's happened. They're $1 billion short. John Fisher is not putting a penny toward this ballpark. And by the way, for the record, when I say it's not happening, it's under current ownership.
So you're saying if it changed, that would then change your mind?
If a
Assuming
new buyer
you're
came
right.
in, right, if a buyer came in and bought the team, all bets are off. None of the sources or information I have they're not fortune tellers. They are coming to conclusions based on the existing facts. And the existing facts are there has been no evidence that John Fisher is putting $1 toward this. It's all he's good for it. The banks looked at his family's holdings. Of course they have the money. They're very wealthy people, but they are absolutely not sinking $1 billion into a ballpark that I'm pretty sure they're not going to own at the end of it. That's not how rich people do stuff. You know this, Jonathan. You're rich. You're not going to cash out Gap stock. He doesn't have enough Gap stock to pay for this, even if he wanted to.
You must have good sources because I don't know where you're getting all this from. I don't know these things. I'm telling you, very
How can you have an opinion unless you have all that information, though?
correct. So you must know something then. But I'm looking forward to the stadium being built, the fans enjoying baseball games in Las Vegas, and Mark Bedane coming on the podcast, and hopefully you save your reputation as still a credible influence that we can. Otherwise, we can't have him on this podcast so many times.
When we have him on again,
Yeah.
we'll be able to talk about the finances of this ballpark.
Other dubious announcements, which the A's is not dubious, but other dubious announcements would be Shelley Berkeley, our mayor, announcing a new casino being built on Symphony Park, which you then tweeted is not happening. And care to share any thoughts on that? I mean, I should know more than anyone on
She's
that.
very excited. She and I have it's not like I've had differences with Oscar. I didn't really have any differences with Carolyn Goodman. I was actually pro Carolyn Goodman even during that embarrassing interview with Anderson Cooper. But Shelley Berkeley and I, we have a lot of stuff where we don't see eye to eye. And I think it started when she called some protesters trash. So it was in that moment that my view of her changed, because I had no real impression of her other than anybody who's been in politics their whole life is not of interest to me, because that means they're not, like, that's a weird world to be in forever. But I thought it was interesting because during that state of Las Vegas speech, she brings up Circa 2. I had shared this story probably 6 years ago when Derek Stevens bought that little plot. I thought you guys might buy it because it was so close. It's like a little walking bridge away. It's zoned for gaming. I'm like, Tamaras, grab that thing. Derek got it. And at the time, he said, like, it's probably going to be a casino expansion, something in the future. But apparently the mayor or her people saw on this little Symphony Park map that it said Circa 2, like just a weird random label. And she ran with it and said, like, of all these great things that are coming, there's also this. So I
will
call a very good source, Derek Stevens. And I said, well, did you know about this? He goes, no, I heard about it when you did, when it was in her speech. And then he goes, yeah, we're renting out the space to this cello as a workspace or whatever you call it, lay down yard for at least 3 years. So we're not even going to start thinking about this for at least 3 years. And I don't know if anybody's rushing to do any more casino development downtown. 3 years, hard to tell. 5 years, 10 years, whatever. But I felt the need to quash it because there's so many announcements that don't happen. I didn't want people to think that was announced and that it doesn't happen, because it may not happen. But there's so many projects that are just given this big stamp of approval on the Strip, that spot next to Fontainebleau, that, spot across from the Wynn. Like, all these projects are announced, most of which are not happening. So I didn't want people to think it was that. It was just a miss.
Well, I think, she obviously jumped the gun on that. Got tons of national press. I mean, it was in major newspapers. I got calls from people all over saying, is this new casino happening in downtown? We did look at P&Q. It's called P&Q. It's parcels P&Q on Symphony Park. Amazing what's happened on Symphony Park. I mean, we went to the Cello groundbreaking where they're building a condominium tower. There's at least 1,200 other apartments being built on there, 800 of which are already open. We've got the AC Marriott opening. I went to Smith Center the other night. There's a new Starbucks that's open there. There's the Discovery Museum. I mean, there's a medical office building coming that my friend Scott Goldstein's doing. It's pretty amazing what's going on in Symphony Park. But Circa 2 jumped the gun. We did like that land. We would have liked to have bought that land, but Derek got it. And I do think that if he ever does something there, and with our 17 acres of land next to going south of the plaza, there's a lot of synergies between bridges, hotels, casinos, entertainment. It could be a real attraction on Main Street for the whole city if that all got worked out together. So there's a lot of potential down there, and I think, like you said, it's a couple of years away still.
It's great for downtown that there's residential places, because you need more bodies down here for a lot of the stuff that's being talked about. P's and Q's, is that a British thing?
Mind your P's and Q's, yeah. But it's also, it may not be a British thing, but it's also nothing to do with why that's called parcels P and Q. But that's a good point. I didn't know why they were. Maybe that is why.
Oscar's getting ready to open. Scott, any final words?
No, I just have a million questions.
Please.
Because you still have a restaurant that I saw Steve Martirano. I swear it was him out front pointing at your building. But
before
that's
that rumor, that's almost like Shelley Berkeley and Circa 2. I don't know who Steve is. So no, there's nothing. That's complete coincidence.
So the X train station, new restaurant, anything, burger place?
Burger place is getting very close to being able to be announced.
Yes.
Hawaiian deal I told you fell out, but we're working on 3 or 4 new concepts to do that. We will have in the next 12 to 18 months at least 3 new food and beverage outlets in this restaurant. In this hotel. I know we're under-restauranted, and Oscar's is doing great, but we need more in this building for sure.
so Italian. That sounds like a great
It would be a
idea.
good idea, but it would have been with Steve. What's his last name?
Give us a call, Steve.
Yeah, Steve, if you're listening.
He used to be
let's
at
talk.
Rio, used to be at Paris. He kind of quasi-retired, but he looked exactly like him, and he was
sure
being
it wasn't
shown
Wayne
around
Newton?
by a suit. No, Martirano's bald, and he was here last night. Wayne Newton's hair. I wish I had hair that dark naturally.
What are your other
like
questions?
He does. Let's think. No, because the bus station thing is an ongoing question. I love that the gift shop moved to where it is, so you have a blank slate in the food hall experience area.
Yep. Have you been to the farmers market on Fridays at the food in the bus station?
What, it has vegetables and stuff?
No, there's other stuff besides
Like
vegetables.
what?
Sandwiches,
Food.
salads, breads. Really
No,
good
I'm
produce.
very important. I'm very busy.
You don't get up early enough. For
I'm saving the lives of dogs, and I'm stirring up shit.
yeah.
New
That's
Italian restaurant,
full-time.
Hubby the Sand Dollar.
That kind of sums you up. Saving dogs and stirring up shit. That should be your new handle on Twitter.
Why is that not a T-shirt?
Yes, saving dogs and stirring.
Oh, I made a T-shirt. They won't let me wear it. They have so many rules at the shelter, but it was just a simple design. It just said "dog treat delivery system." It was so cute, and they're like, "No, you have to wear your volunteer shirt." I'm the only person who's going to get fired in a volunteer position. It's happened before.
What else we got, Scott? Or should we let them go?
So the crash and burned. I'm trying to think of things down here.
Crash and burn.
Exactly. It was a huge restaurant in Neonopolis. Beautiful restaurant. Disappears overnight, and now it's a Mexican restaurant. You never know what's going to happen at Neonopolis. It's just
that
an
is
endless
true.
source of.
I can't say anything bad about them, but I don't know how they get new business in there, and it is a strange place. But Downtown Grand might help them because they're right catty corner there.
Do you lose the potential of Life is Beautiful at Plaza because they are probably going to do it on that street in front of Downtown Grand?
I would think so. I don't know where they do it on that site because it's not big. It's not like empty land. per
Yeah,
se,
that street is kind of like.
But between all the blocks and the different things, I'm sure they figure out a way. It's definitely not happening this year. I mean, it's meant to be in 3 or 4 months. It definitely shouldn't have happened last year either. But now that they're talking about that side, I'm sure they'll figure out a way to bring it back to downtown in a more meaningful way.
Yeah, so Life is Beautiful not happening anytime soon.
No.
That's a shame.
No.
But I was trying to think where would they put it because the first thing I thought of was like they've done other events on that little street. Even if you get a special permit, there's no sight lines. If you take it out on whatever that street is, Ogden, and then down the 3rd Street.
Street, yeah.
Because 3rd Street
That
is
promenade.
a big open space.
Yeah, no, it's a great
Fremont
street.
Street has done it in the other direction, and they just let the crowd expand down that area near the jerky store or whatever.
The new sushi restaurant there.
Yeah, that sushi restaurant that appears to not ever be happening. But it'll be interesting to see because it opens up some possibilities that haven't been there before.
Yeah. Well, we'll have you back on again.
We'll see you in a few months.
Thank you,
There's a few more
guys.
things happening. Thank you.
I always appreciate being on, whether I'm just replacing a cancellation or not. I think there's always stuff to talk about. I didn't get a chance up front to express how much I love this podcast. Any guest you have, even if it's a weird offbeat one like you had an episode ago where you're
Shout out Mike Davis.
yeah, you're not really sure. No, he said something nice about Vital Vegas, so I love that episode. But yeah,
Shout out to Chef Ben who just walked by. He's trying to open his restaurant. Chef Ben is now putting non-enriched cheese in our burger. Some of the finest cheese in the Oscars burger. Have you tried the Oscars burger lately,
I like
Scott?
everything enriched. That's what I do at the shelter. They call it enrichment, like when you help teach them sit or
But you don't want to have
it's
enriched. If you
enrichment.
can have a non-enriched cheese and non-enriched dough, it's like basically without all the toxic pesticides.
Whatever Chelsea gives me, I eat. I don't care.
That's fair.
She could give me roadkill.
Let's leave it on that note. Chelsea, you're the best. Scott, thank you for being
You're
here.
the best, Jonny Rockets.
Check out the Jonny Rocket token, everybody. Right there.
You a fan of On the Corner of Main Street? You're listening, so we'll assume that's a yes. So share the love, rate, review, and tell a friend to subscribe. Also, follow us on Twitter and Instagram @PlazaPod. On Facebook, Plaza Podcast. And feel free to write to the man himself at Jonathan Jossel. We'll see you next time, right here on the corner of Main Street.